A very, very, very good morning to everybody. Thursday, the 16th of October. It's live at the Waterhole, and what a spectacular start to the day. We are at Onguma in Etosha National Park, and we have lions. I don't know too much about this pride, but I believe, according to our wonderful Zoomies, that we have two lionesses and at least five little cubs. Hello, little ones. Not tiny cubs, of course. They look like they're around about 6 months old, there or thereabouts, I would think, watching very, very carefully I think the birds flitting across the dam. But what an amazing start to the day. My name is Ben Coley. I'll be with you for the next couple of hours. We are live, we are interactive, so please do send in questions, comments, thoughts, and your amazement at this wonderful way of starting. How cool is it to start the show with lions? It's made my day. Oh, rather brave marabou stalk. I think maybe the little cubs are seeing that and thinking, what on earth? Oh, look, here comes the male. Hello, beautiful big boy. What an absolute treat. We haven't seen him at all this morning. He has literally just arrived as the show has started. They found themselves a lovely shady spot next to the water. No idea if they've got any food or whether they have just come by to quench their thirst. But to be honest, I don't care. It's just amazing to see lions. It's one of the nice things about having moved the show an hour or two earlier to account for the summer heat. We've actually had quite a few lion sightings of late. Yeah, that little cubby there does look like he's got a fairly rotund belly, so I think they possibly have caught something. This, of course, excellent hunting grounds close to water. This time of year will always attract potential prey animals. So it looks like they have had a good feed as well. Some kind of melon. You're saying maybe Feline Friday has come early. Yeah, absolutely. Maybe the time difference between here and Etosha has got a little bit messed up over the last few days. But we will take Feline Thursday. That is not a problem at all. Hello, Lenny, as well. Glad you could also join us. And I hope everybody is enjoying these beautiful views. And greetings to Mr. Elemental joining us again from Western Australia, 5 p.m. in the evening. Well, Mr. Elemental, how about this to finish your day as you start, I hope, relaxing for the evening in the company of some Etosha lions? I've been lucky enough to see a few Etosha lions over the years, and the females in particular are absolutely incredible. They're, in my experience, we'll have to have a closer look at these, hopefully, if we can see them moving around. They're not the tallest lions that you will ever see, but they are some of the most muscular and stocky lionesses. They do have good stock out there in Etosha. Very, very strong, barrel-chested and muscular animals. Hello, Moonlight at Midnight. You're looking forward to seeing what shows up at the waterholes today. Well, Moonlight to Midnight. Hopefully, this is exactly what you're hoping for. Oh, yeah, look at that belly. They've definitely had some food last night. Something reasonably substantial, I would think, with all those mouths to feed. Those cubs will have a voracious appetite at this time. And of course, that male as well, quite capable of consuming 40 to 50 kilograms of meat himself. So evidently, whatever it was substantial enough to leave plenty left over for all those hungry tummies. Roger, why do you think lion? Why do I think that lions are called the king of the jungle, despite living in savannas and not jungles? Honestly, Roger, I don't know. If I'm honest, there used to be lions in Asia where there is more jungle, and I'm sure there were lions in other jungles in other parts of the world in history. So maybe it's just been a sort of a bastardization of that over the years. Maybe because it sounds good. But they're not even kings of the savannah, I'm afraid. That title most definitely goes to the elephant. I can, with 100% certainty, tell you that an elephant walked into the frame right now, these lions would disappear very, very quickly. They are not going to get into the way of an elephant. Of course, it does happen occasionally that lions have hunted elephants successfully as well, but it is very, very rarely seen. And it is an incredible undertaking, hugely risky to subdue such a powerful creature. So yeah, I'm not actually sure of the etymology of that phrase. It's been around for certainly as long as I know, but I agree with you. There are no lions in the jungle. Right, I have no doubt we will be returning to these lions. I'm sure if they become active, but I think speaking of elephants, have some on the Oliphant River. So let's go check in at some of our other cameras and see what else is happening. A beautiful scene of a big bull enjoying the water in the shade of what looked like to be some sycamore fig trees. Incredible trees with an incredible story. Reputed to feed more species or at least have an effect or an interaction or ecologize, if that's a word, with more species in Mother Africa than any other tree out here, with the way that they often fruit their figs at random times of the year, sometimes during winter, sometimes a couple of times per year. They feed so many other animals here, including the elephants, which will happily hoover up those figs and then transport them elsewhere to spread those seeds far and wide. So very, very important for seed dispersal, these elephants, and a very obvious characteristic of the riverine vegetation along the rivers here in southern Africa, dominated by fig trees, jackalberries, boerbeens, leadwoods. There are some absolutely spectacular trees to be found hugging the river lines, taking advantage of that water. Matumis as well, they're the largest tree recorded in Kruger National Park, around about 60 meters in height.
See you out on the safari.
It could be a very exciting morning.
My full name is Cedric Leslie Dold. The best driver at Wild Earth, it is me. I believe I'm the best driver. I think so, because I've... best part of my job, I say, is just to try and look out for these animals, track them down. I love tracking animals. I love looking for, fresh tracks, and if you can find them, it's just at the moment of accomplishment. If I wasn't a presenter for Wild Earth, I would be the drummer for AC/DC.
Join our expert guides at dawn for a live, immersive safari as the bush comes to life.
Found ourselves a chameleon, and look how he's changed color.
Every sunrise brings new discoveries.
Pound for pound, a leopard is one of the strongest cats around.
Ask questions, share your thoughts, and connect with nature live and in real time.
Great excitement, great happiness.
Start your day with adventure.
Enjoying some cool, refreshing drinking. See, Erica, you're asking how often do lions need to feed? It's a question we get very often out on game drives and on safaris. And unfortunately, as with all of the questions you tend to ask us, there is no simple answer to that because it very much depends on what they are feeding on. If they were to kill a buffalo like this, that will keep them busy for 2 or 3 days, but that will also be dependent upon the size of the pride, obviously. If they were to kill an impala, that won't last long. I always say that's the equivalent of you having a packet of crisps or an apple or something. It's just a little snack, a little bag of biltong, perhaps, whilst you're on your travels. Whereas a buffalo would be a full roast dinner buffet. So it depends what they're eating, but I would normally say, on average, from finishing one kill to making the next kill, probably averages around about 3 days. But again, depends on the lions, depends on the opportunities that they have. Sometimes I've seen lions take out 2, 3 buffaloes at once before the big herd comes through. Sometimes they may even kill something whilst they're in the process of feeding on something else. If an animal was unsuspecting and unfortunate enough to wander into the fray, the lion's generally not going to turn down the opportunity. But it is not uncommon for lions to go at least a week without food. They can sometimes even go 2 weeks or more without food, although that will become very evident. Their metabolism will use that energy quite quickly. Remember, they're eating protein, which has lots and lots of sort of fast use energy. Their body absorbs it quickly. And even a very, very chunky lion that is just fed will lose a lot of that bulk just within a couple of days. So really, after 2 weeks, things start to get a little bit more serious. But not uncommon for a lion to go a week without food. We do tend to see that on these documentaries, lions are often portrayed as these incredible hunters just killing for fun. It's not always the case. They are not the most successful hunters out here on the savannah. That award goes to the painted wolf or the African wild dog. Although within the animal kingdom, it is the dragonfly who tops the list, closely followed by the seahorse, I believe. So normally only about 1 in 5 hunts is actually successful. Mr. Elemental, you're appreciating this nice scene, isn't it? Rather therapeutic. And Susan Hutchinson, you're saying you love, in capital letters, Live at the Waterhole, and what a gorgeous way to start the day. I could not agree more, Susan. It has been a rip-roaring start to today's show. I always feel for herbivores this time of year, particularly buffaloes being bulk grazers. They do need plenty of grass. And as you can see, even though spring has most definitely sprung, we're seeing budding on the trees. A lot of them have blossomed. We've got new growth coming through, but we need a decent deluge of rain just to really kickstart that grass formation. And a big herd of buffalo, although it's only a small herd, they can number in their thousands potentially, have to travel far and wide to find enough fodder to feed all of those hungry mouths. That's why generally buffaloes are not territorial animals. They would just completely destroy their resource availability in a particular area. So they do roam over very large home ranges, going where the food is. Interesting question from Nevi, which I'm going to open up to the rest of the group because I don't have an answer for it. Nevi's asking if a lion could star in a Hollywood movie, what genre would suit it best and what would its character be like? I'd love to hear people's opinions. Obviously, I think my brain instantly goes to some sort of action hero star. But lion's not always particularly active, it has to be said. So maybe not an action movie. I can't see them necessarily portrayed as a superhero. Maybe a horror with all the blood, guts, and gore that they produce. But I would love to hear people's thoughts on genre of movies that could star lions, or if there are any well-known characters in movies that you think perfectly suit the demeanor of a lion. Do send them in, and we will open it up to discussion. Gareth, you are enjoying this peaceful image of these buffaloes. You're saying not a care in the world. They do look rather chilled, certainly. Speaking of chilling, let us go and enjoy some ocean views down at Stony Point for a change. Interesting. I'm not quite sure what we're looking at there. I'm assuming this is a slumbering penguin, I guess. Trying to ascertain where is the head and where is the rump. I think its head is on the right. It's quite difficult to discern amongst the vegetation and the rocks there. Brilliant camouflage. CTD was just suggested with our... there we go, there's a head. For our lion movie star that we're going with fantasy because of the Chronicles of Narnia. I'm ashamed to say I'm trying to remember the name of the lion in Chronicles of Narnia. In my head I keep going to Asgard, but I know that's where Thor lives. So I don't think it's Asgard. Has definitely got an as in it somewhere. But... not a series of books or movies that I have to admit I have watched for an awful long time. Of course, I see a penguin and I go to the second Batman of the originals with Michael Keaton and the penguin, reliving some of my misspent youth. The Real Shamwari, you're suggesting that a lion would star in Murder, She Wrote with Angela Lansbury. Well played, very well done. Yeah, good shout. Definitely a murder mystery. Well, certainly the murder part. But I suppose with us having to track them on a daily basis, that accounts for mystery as well. Good shout, Real Shamwari. I like that one a lot. And so, very well done with your Angela Lansbury. Thank you. Aslan was the name of the lion in Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, and Narnia, Aslan the lion. I suppose you've also got the Wizard of Oz as well, with the Cowardly Lion. Oh wow, we're really pulling out the puns today. I'm loving it. Some kind of melon. You don't know what character, but it would be the main character. M-A-N-E. Bravo. I do like a good word play. Well done, Some Kind of Melon. Michael Fensale, you're going with Jason X or Jason 10. I'm not sure which one you prefer. I assume you are referring to Jason from the horror movies with his baseball mask. Imagine seeing a lion with one of those masks on its face at night. That would be rather terrifying. We've got a little lizard emerging from the rock on the left. I feel we're ignoring the penguin though, unfortunately. Beautiful to see an African penguin. This is not normally a view I associate with our visits to Stony Point. Don't know if anybody knows what's happened to those chicks that we were looking at. I haven't seen them for a long time. I assume that they did indeed hatch. But a slumbering penguin today. I wonder if our dassies are also around. Speaking of dassies, I don't know if people saw that rather unusual discovery. I think it's something like 120,000 years ago. Supposedly a dassie or a rock hyrax may have dragged its rump in the sand, and that has become fossilized. And somebody's discovered this. How they have ascertained that it is indeed the drag mark of a dassie's bottom, I'm not really sure. But there does seem to be some copperites, some fossilized remains, also sort of within the sea, and I think that's what has suggested to them that that's what it is. But pretty amazing that we are able to potentially say that the stripe that has been fossilized in the sand was made by a dassie's bottom.
Even a hyena coming into the action as well now. Oh my word! She's stalking the hyena now. Leopard, hyena, lion, all together in one shot. Oh. This is action-packed.
The bush, full of beauty, wonder, and absolute chaos. And now, all that madness has its own show. It's called a Wild Bush Week. The countdown of the most outrageous, heart-stopping, and sometimes downright ridiculous wildlife moments of the week. Lions throwing their weight around. Hyenas gate-crashing the buffet. Leopards doing, well, leopardy things. Each week, it's a fresh reel of safari gold, a mix of drama,
She's just got an impala, everybody.
danger, and a healthy dose of laughter. So, if you fancy a highlight show with bite, and I don't mean just the animals, tune in to a Wild Bush Week. You bring the tea, and we'll bring the tusks, tails, and teeth.
But I'm sure it is coming. The humidity would suggest that it is going to break at some point. It has become quite oppressive over the last few days. Melanistic Marble, you're saying that Elephant Pan today should be renamed Giraffe Pan. I think you are correct. I didn't actually count how many of them are here, but there must be at least 10, I would think. Mostly females by the look of it, but and youngsters. I did see one large male meandering his way between, perhaps looking for any opportunities. You can see the much more delicate ossicones on the top of the heads of all these giraffe females, whereas the male towers above the females, much, much larger and stronger, and much more established ossicones, much wider, more girth, and those bald spots on the top, whereas the females have got those little tufty hair. Here comes our male. You can see his more sturdy ossicones. You can see those little bald patches as well, calcium deposits, just to make those ossicones a more effective weapon when boxing other males or necking other males for hierarchical standing. He thought about a drink, has now decided to attach himself, I think, to this female. Maybe she is eliciting some interesting scents. Maybe he's got distracted again. Has an attention span of me. Shiv, you're saying that those giraffe don't seem to understand the name of that pan. Well, in fairness, I don't think there's a sign up. Maybe if we put a sign up, the giraffe would give way to the elephants. Maybe that's something that the Botswanan authorities could consider. And maybe a picture of an elephant as well, just in case the animals can't read our writing. As you can see, this male is sort of chaperoning this female as she moves around. It's typical behavior. If there were other males there, the most dominant one will be following that female around, just to deny access, potentially, to any other suitors. Darkmane Lover also enjoying this giraffe sighting. It has been rather beautiful to see so many so close together. It's still looking very dry and barren up at Elephant Pan, or newly named Giraffe Pan. All right, we are going to head off to one of our other cameras. I think we have some bird life to look at. Up to Tembo Plains. I don't know if I've visited this camera, but we have what looks to be an African darter. Look at that incredible kink in the neck, very characteristic of the darter species, all designed to create that pressure and thrust that neck forward, use that very sharp beak as a stabbing weapon to grab himself fish when he's hunting. Very normal to see darters on the same perch. They do enjoy a good repetitive perch, often with their wings outstretched to warm up and to dry off. They, like quite a few diving birds, including cormorants, they don't have that sort of waxy, oily secretion on their fur, so their feathers are not very water resistant because they want to get waterlogged so that they can dive down deep and not have the buoyancy of all of those air pockets stuck within the feathers. But that does mean that their feathers do stay rather wet for a while, so they will often sit with their wings outstretched to dry them off in the sun. Recycled Teenager, you would like to know when is the rainy season in Africa? Well, obviously, Africa is a very, very large area, so it differs depending on the area. But down here in southern Africa, we are just coming into the rainy season now. We get our seasonal rains in the summer months. As the sun climbs higher in the sky, when it's at solstice, it's over the Tropic of Capricorn, which is only about 150 or so kilometers north of where I sit at the moment. That makes it very, very warm. That brings a lot of evaporation from the warm Indian Ocean on our eastern coast, brings it inland, then rises up over the great escarpment on the eastern side of the country, condenses into clouds and brings with it plenty of rain and storms. That's what happens in southern Africa. Slightly different down in Cape Town. Cape Town, it's the reverse, more of a Mediterranean climate. They do get their rains during our winter months, whereas we have rains in the summer months. And they can be pretty spectacular, particularly in the Highveld area around Johannesburg and Pretoria. Massive thunderstorms with many lightning strikes per minute. Spectacular to watch. But we are expecting rain soon. In this area, in the Lowveld, we normally would expect somewhere between around about 700 millimeters of rain a year. We've had one or two little showers totaling maybe a few millimeters each time over the last few weeks. But we are sometimes susceptible to massive deluges, which can lead to some localized flooding. I think it was 2012. We had the worst flooding ever whilst I was working at Sabi, localized flooding there. We had over 400 millimeters of rain in about 24 hours. Empty, dry riverbeds became raging torrents. People had to be evacuated from lodges in helicopters. Tarmac on bridges over rivers in Kruger were ripped away. But the biggest floods, of course, were back in 2000s. There are still various flood markers in many reserves that show you just how high the water level got back then. Good morning, Julian Thomas. You say you've just joined us and you're very happy to see a darter. I'm glad we could make that happen for you. But stand by, Julian Thomas and everybody else, because we are going to go back to Onguma and check in on our lions. Our sleepy lions found themselves a perfect spot in the shade of whatever large tree that is. Oh, here comes a little cubby. Coming over to annoy mum, who's trying to sleep. Attention to me, attention to me. No, mum's not going to play, so I shall go and investigate, possibly have a drink. But I think it's fair to say they will spend the rest of today slumbering here in the shade. What a perfect spot for them. They've got full bellies, they've got shade, they've got water. Everything a lion would need right now. Nice to see the little spot patterns on that youngster, because they will fade with age as the fur is replaced and ages. But young lions, certainly very evident spots on the legs and on the underbelly. Hello, little one. Your 5 minutes of fame. That must be the other female. The dozy eyes, but head still up. What a beautiful, innocent face. Catherine, you're saying you hope it doesn't rain so much when you are there. I'm not sure when you are due to travel, but yeah, it's always a difficult one. We want rain, but not when we're out and about on drive. It can rain during the middle of the day, not during game drive time, where then it can be cloudy and nice and cool. Um, then it can rain during the daytime, and then I would insist on clear skies at night. That's my perfect 24-hour period. Clear night skies, nice, cool, overcast mornings and evenings, but still having beautiful sunrises and sunsets. Then a nice token amount of rain during the day whilst we're all enjoying our little siestas like these lions. And then repeat for the afternoon, but clearing just enough to allow for another spectacular African sunset, where we want just a little bit of cloud to enable the light to dance off the clouds and give us those beautiful colours, refraction of those longer wavelengths of light. Everybody's been surprisingly alert for sort of 11:45 on a Thursday afternoon for these lions. But as you said, Bill, they look well fed. Maybe they're a little uncomfortable, like some of us after Christmas dinner, lying on the sofa, going, oof, a lot, regretting having eaten so much, claiming we will never eat so much again, but preparing ourselves for dinner. And then we'll do it all the same the next year. Yeah, beautiful to check in on these lines at Onguma, but I think we are going to head next door to Safari Hook and see what is happening there. Ah, lovely. We've got springbok, we've got zebra, we've got elephants. What a fabulous day we're having. Oh, sorry, everybody, we're having one or two issues with the camera at Safari Hook, so we've gone back to Onguma. I think we're going to try one of our other cameras as well. Not sure what happened to the male. He must have his head down somewhere. Ah, and our buffalo look as if they're settling in for the day as well and have been joined by giraffe bull. Clifford, you want to know, do lions ever plunge into the water to get cool? Clifford, I wouldn't say they choose to plunge into water. Generally speaking, lions are like cats. They don't like getting too wet. They always look a little bit disgruntled when it's heavy rain and will try and hide away from it. That being said, there are lions that do seem to have no problems with water, particularly up in the delta, where lions have been known to hunt buffalo in the shallows. But generally speaking, they will shy away from water. I have never seen nor heard of a lion on a hot day just having a plunge to cool off. Tigers and jaguars, yes, they're far more comfortable in water. I remember a sighting in the Sabi Sand when I was working at Sabi Sabi. We were watching the Southern Pride during the rainy season walking towards us, and there was a big puddle that spans the entire road. And all the lions got there and stopped, and then they started sort of hissing and snarling at the water in real disappointment or anger that it was there. I seem to remember one sort of dipped its paw in and shook it off, and then they took a big detour through the grass to avoid the puddle. They didn't even want to walk through it. So lions are a little bit like domestic cats. They are not fans of getting their little tootsies wet, let alone the rest of their body. Unlike these buffalo, who are quite content to lie in the shallows. But it's interesting as to why lions don't do that. You would think they do get very hot, as does everything out here. So you think it was a lovely opportunity to lie in the water. We see hyenas do it quite regularly. Whether it's some sort of evolutionary behavioral avoidance of the danger of crocodiles, perhaps. But if that's the case, why doesn't it affect other animals? But you would think it would be a perfect opportunity to get into the water and cool off in a more efficient manner. But it looks as if these buffalo have decided this is a good way or a good place to spend the heat of the day. They'll probably stay here most of the day, start thinking about moving late afternoon, and it just begins to cool down. They'll probably go and have another drink. They do tend to drink twice a day, morning and evening, and then head off for some good feeding opportunities during the night, keeping a wary eye out for any marauding lions, of course. But looks like our giraffe has had enough and is going to disappear into the distance, looking for some nice fresh leaves, of which there are plenty at the moment, and blossoms as well. Lots of nutrients to be had for them. There's a little entourage of oxpeckers as well. Ross, you're asking why do some lions hunt giraffe? Simply put, Ross, because there's plenty of food to be had there. It is a risky proposition to take on a giraffe, flailing legs and hooves, with an incredibly strong kick, more than capable of paralyzing a lion, breaking the lion's back, fracturing a skull. Many a lion has fallen foul to a flailing leg from a giraffe, but it's that risk reward. Once the giraffe is down and the lions can clamp down onto that throat, that is an awful lot of meat to share around. And various prides of lions have become quite adept at hunting giraffe. There is different technique, for example, between hunting a lion and hunting a giraffe and hunting a buffalo. And you'll generally find that a specific pride will have a prey preference between the larger animals, because that's what they, as cubs, will have been taught by observing the adults in the pride when they were young, as to the best tactics and techniques to subdue these larger animals. So that knowledge is then passed down through the generations within the family and is kept alive. But there is, of course, a huge amount of instinct within the hunting strategy as well. But there are slightly different methods that can be employed. So for giraffes, they normally chase the giraffes until the giraffe generally will make a mistake. If they can chase it into a rocky area, the giraffe loses its footing, and once the giraffe is on the ground, it's very, very difficult for the giraffe to get away. And you could argue it's less dangerous to take on an individual giraffe than it would be to barrel into a herd of buffalo. There's an awful lot of horns in there, an awful lot of strength and testosterone and adrenaline in a
At Wild Earth, we believe every story has the power to create change. That's why we've launched the Wild Earth Impact Foundation, a non-profit dedicated to conservation and social impact. By showcasing conservation stories, we can change lives, protect nature, and empower communities. We have partnered with Empowers Africa to accept tax-deductible donations from US donors. Your donation will help fund critical programs that support our mission. Join us and be part of the change.
And that's it for this morning's drive. She's just got her impala, everybody. And we're going to be heading out and seeing what animals we can find.
See this one on the left, quite happily ruminating, four-chambered stomach, regurgitating some of that bulk fodder that they've been eating, very fibrous grass that they tend to eat, buffalo, particularly this time of year. That is not easy to digest, but thankfully nature has taken care of that. Had a four-chambered stomach, able to regurgitate that food, chew it up. Lots and lots of bacteria and enzymes in that rumen chamber to help break down that fibrous material, the cellulose and the lignin contained in plant matter. Just chew, 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 make it into smaller and smaller parts, which makes it more easily absorbable. From there, it will pass through to the reticulum and then the omasum and finally the abomasum before into the intestines making it a very, very efficient digestive system to extract all of the nutrients from what it is that they are eating. Unusually for buffalo, though, and it's always, I found it sort of rather surprising, is that they have very sort of wet dung. If you think of all the other ruminant animals, think of giraffe, impalas, kudus, they all have very small pellets because of that efficient digestive system. But buffalo, like cows, produce these great big wet splodges, those pats that are produced, which I've always found unusual, being a ruminant animal, and I think put down to the fact that they have to drink so much water to deal with all that fibrous bulk graze that they take. So that's always, I've found, slightly unusual with buffaloes. Now, Mr. Elemental, how much would a Duggarboy's horns weigh? Oh, I'll be doing a bit of a thumb suck for you, Mr. Elemental. A big buffalo bull itself, the whole thing can weigh up to about 900 kilograms, so not far off a ton of angry muscle. But having lifted up a few skulls and horns and things over the years that we've found out in the bush, I'd probably say, well, a good 10 kilograms, I would think, maybe even more at times. Depends on the size of the horn, but it is a solid bone structure, about 6 inches of bone protecting the brain case underneath it. Canine Girl, you're asking if there's a difference in the relationships with the Duggarboys in the herd when they leave. Well, the Duggarboys generally will leave the herd when they get a little bit older. They'd rather just hang out somewhere where they've got access to water and softer vegetation because their teeth are not what they used to be, similar to what we see with elephants to some extent. But if and when a herd does come through, there's a good chance that those Duggarboys will join the herd when they're in the vicinity. And a good chance that they might get some mating rights just because of their size and experience and strength versus some of the other bulls that are still roaming with the herd. And then when the herd leave, the Duggarboys say, right, that's enough for me, thank you, I'll enjoy the peace and quiet and stay in my little corner of paradise, my little oasis, and await the opportunities of another herd that may pass through the area. Right, I think we're going to head up to Camelthorne in Botswana. Let's see what's happening there today.
My name is Amy, and behind the camera with me is Paul. And I mean, to be able to share it with all of you. Fingers crossed, and I'll make sure I wear my lucky leopard socks as well.
What does it take to handle the wild? Balance. Determination. Focus.
Yaku!
And gear that can take a beating so you don't have to.
I get to wake up every morning and go out there and look for cats. I get to create my everyday safari for myself. I grew up in the sort of central eastern suburbs of Johannesburg, fully qualified trails guide and a fully qualified nature conservationist. I love the wild places. I love being in the wilderness. It's probably one of the best jobs I've ever had and probably ever could have.
Every week, the wilderness delivers.
And that's why we're here.
Drama, chaos, crimes, humour. All moments you'll never forget. We've counted them down, argued about them, and finally picked the very best. From rare sightings to classic bush showdowns, this is Nature's weekly highlight reel. Sharp facts, bad jokes, and the wildest top 5 you'll see this side of the savannah. It's not just a show, it's a wild bush week.
Doing a little bit of a search in the background, and we were talking about lions and water earlier. It seems there was a case in Uganda, I'm not quite sure when, but not that long ago, where two brothers, one who had a disabled leg due to a poaching snare, swam 1.5 kilometers across the Kazinga Channel to reach the other side. So that's rather unusual, I would think. Whether that was because of human pressure, I don't know the specifics. But first time I've heard of a lion crossing such a large body of water. Occasionally going across rivers and things, yes, and channels in the delta, but I've never heard of one travelling that sort of distance. And also something interesting, that there was some DNA evidence from the alleged man-eating lions of Savo that found some hair trapped in some of its teeth that included some prey species that weren't present in that particular region of Savo at the time, suggesting that these lions roamed much further than we originally thought, and how things have changed over the years. Yeah, if I come up with anything else, Nelly, I will let you know. But those are a couple of little snippets or tidbits of information that I found for you. That's amazing. I'm trying to imagine a lion swimming across 1.5 kilometers body of water. That's pretty incredible. I love that sound of the zebras, particularly here at Camelthorne with that sort of amphitheatre type arrangement of the topography here. It just echoes off that big bank at the back. You really hear those whoops of the zebras. Still always one of my favourite noises. Juliet, you're wondering if drinking water from the source is instinct or learnt behaviour for elephants. I think it's probably a little bit of both. It's probably learnt behaviour by watching the more experienced members and then maybe sampling it for yourself and realising, wow, this water quality is much nicer, it tastes better and fresher, doesn't have so much sediment rushing through it. So I imagine a little bit of both. It's always a good opportunity to watch the hierarchies, particularly amongst groups of males, when there is a specific water source like this. You'll normally find the most dominant one will be dominating that area. We see it up at Old Donyo all the time, with normally the biggest, baddest elephant of the group positioned with his trunk over the pipe and the rest looking rather forlornly on, waiting for their opportunity. Right, let's pop across to the hide in Hwangi and see what is afoot there. We've got our baboons. These are becoming a very common sight here at Hwangi. Always fun to watch the baboons and their antics. This one seems to have a strange, not sure if that's a growth on its bottom there. Perhaps an old injury. Found something of interest in the mud. What have you found, baboon? Yeah, maybe it was just a trick of the light. I don't see any obvious protrusion now. Quite a few of them investigating something on the shoreline, whether there are some insects that have been attracted, little arthropods to the area that the baboons are feeding on, maybe some seeds or something that has been washed up. Maybe some salts that have crystallized and dried out as the water has evaporated. And a nice big sounder of warthogs as well. Taking advantage of that little green flush that we can actually see there, down on their knees or on their ankles. Visk, you're asking how many species of baboon are there? Well, I definitely know of three, the Chacma, olive, and yellow, but having just done a quick check, it seems that there are at least five. Added to those three, we have a Guinea baboon and a Hamadryas baboon, apparently, both of which are new to me. I know very little about those, unfortunately. Down here in southern Africa, we only have the Shakba baboons. But up in East Africa, we get the olive and yellow baboon as well. They may, of course, be divided into subspecies. I'll have to do a little bit of delving into the genetic lineage of baboons for you. Looks at, again, just as a quick glance, but please don't take this as gospel, because as we all know, we can't believe everything we read online. Needs to be substantiated, but it seems like there is a southern Chacma baboon and a grey-footed Chacma baboon, which occurs further west from here, and a Namibian Chacma baboon as well. As well as a central yellow baboon and an Iberian yellow baboon and a Kinder baboon I've never heard of. So yeah, I'll have to have a look. But it sounds like five species that are then divided into either subspecies or regional variations that have different common names. I'll see what else I can find out and get back to you tomorrow on that one. See this one on the left using that wedge-shaped head to push over the top layer of soil and get to those rhizomes, the roots of the grass just underneath the surface of the soil that contain very important nutrients, particularly at this time of year. So crawling along on those ankles, just hoovering up anything that it can find. Interesting, this one picking something up from the shoreline, the other one rather lapping it up. Not quite sure what they've found there. Moiti, you want to know whether warthogs are good swimmers? I've never seen a warthog swim. They do love a mud wallow, as we know, and sometimes will lie in the shallows. But my gut reaction would probably be they're probably quite capable of swimming, but don't very often. I'm just thinking of their morphology and the way their body is put together. It's going to be quite difficult for them, I think, to hold their head above the water for long periods of time, just with the shape of it. And their short, stocky neck would make it rather difficult for them to hold their head above water for a long period of time. I think it'd be rather uncomfortable. So if anyone ever has seen baboons crossing a channel of water, I'd be interested to know, but I have never seen one swimming, just wallowing. But I'm sure if they had to, they can. There are a couple of Egyptian geese and possibly a yellow-billed kite just behind the bulk of that hippopotamus. Let's see if we can get a closer look. Let's see your beak. Yes, a yellow-billed kite. You can see that completely yellow beak, those fluffy upper legs. And the quite long tail, which would normally fan out into quite a wedge-shaped tail in flight. Easiest way to identify one in flight. You can see that all yellow beak. Most other raptors have got a different coloured cere, the little bit of the beak closest to the head itself. Slightly tenuous link, but speaking of raptors, I found a very interesting article which I think only came out last week about bearded vultures. So bearded vultures their nests were investigated in southern Spain because they also occur there. Because they're cliff nesting birds, bearded vultures, there's only a finite amount of real estate available. So nesting sites have been used by pairs for hundreds of years, reused. Oh, some saddle-billed storks as well, lovely. And so people found some abandoned nests and actually sort of went through them layer by layer to get information about what they were eating, what prey was around those times. They looked at old eggshells to age when these eggs were created, and they found some really interesting old human artifacts in there. They found some ancient sandals made out of fibers. They found some decorated sheep leather as well. And the oldest thing they discovered has actually been dated at 674 years ago, which was a complete sandal made from grass cords. And I thought, what an amazing thing that is to be able to find human artifacts in the nest of a vulture. They also found some basket fragments, amazingly, a crossbow bolt as well, a piece of a slingshot, and all sorts of other interesting stuff. So amazing what is actually hiding there in terms of seeking human history as well as other things, all by looking at birds' nests and the debris that had been picked up and included in the nests. I thought that was pretty amazing stuff. It's lovely to see some saddle-billed storks. Very, very impressive bird. Mr. Elemental, do baboons and vervet monkers tolerate each other? To a certain extent, they do. The baboons will dominate the vervets if they have to, just due to size, and it's not often you see them sort of feeding in the same area. I think the baboons will dominate those areas. The vervets will keep themselves a little bit scarce. Well, I've never seen an interaction between the two of them, but the baboons would certainly win any altercations, just in terms of sheer size and power. That warthog looked like it fell in a big hole. There's evidently a nice little mud wallow. They just completely disappeared from view. Right, I think we're going to head to one of our other cameras. Apologies, I didn't quite hear where we're going, but it'll be a surprise for us all. Yeah, lovely to check in on our Egyptian geese and goslings at Mantis Founders Lodge with Mum or Dad having a well-deserved bath while the kids seem to be a little bit subdued of late. Hopefully we've still got 4. I definitely see 3. I know we had 4 here the other day. You enjoy that splish splash.
This is an unbelievable afternoon.
The Wild Earth Impact Foundation is a non-profit that uses the power of wildlife storytelling as a force for good. We create sustainable development projects that showcase conservation stories, empower people, and inspire environmental action. As a registered South African PBO, you can make a tax-deductible donation to the Wild Earth Impact Foundation. To find out more, visit our website.
Real? You say the best kind of roadblock?
Absolutely. Look at this.
Hello, girls.
Every month, something wild lands in your inbox. From rare sightings and behind-the-scenes secrets to expert stories, seasonal changes, and exclusive travel opportunities, the Wild Earth Journal is your free monthly mailer, packed with the magic of the wild straight from the field. It's fun, it's free, it's full of surprises. Sign up now on the Wild Earth website.
They do look rather front heavy, don't they? Amazing they don't topple forward at times, but I suppose those big webbed feet help to spread the weight out as they're moving. Still would like to find number 4 though. I'm sure we did have 4. Hey Nango, you're saying various animal species bend their front legs at the knees. I assume you mean sort of going forwards. Elephant seems to, their legs seems to go in the wrong way, as do birds when you see them crouching down. It looks like they've had a terrible injury. But remember, what you see as the knee is actually their ankle, because that's the way the leg is formed. So it just moves in a different orientation. I'm not really sure how to explain it properly, but what we would consider the knee is actually the ankle, because all the bones have been extended and they're kind of walking on tiptoes. Nora, you're asking, are any birds born without feathers? Yeah, lots of them are. You pretty much divide birds into 2 groups in terms of their young. We have what are called altricial young and precocial young. So ground-dwelling birds generally, like these Egyptian geese, are precocial because they are out on the ground. They are quite well developed. They have to be able to evade predators and wander around and follow the parents as they're foraging or swimming. Most of your nest-dwelling birds will be altricial young, or hole-nesting birds. The passerines and things, they come out pretty much completely unfeathered and have to be fed and takes a lot more parental care. So altricial and precocial are the 2 phrases that we use, but most altricial chicks are pretty much naked when they are born. Their eyes are still closed. They are completely immobile. And require an awful lot more love, care, and attention from the parents. Still only 3, though. I'm sure we had 4. Maybe someone can remind me. Maybe I've got myself confused. Rogue geese just flew into shot. Parents doing their thing. This is my watering hole. Get out. I hope nothing has happened to number 4, if indeed it is missing. Maybe it's particularly precocial, it's just gone wandering off and is exploring its surroundings. A great podium for the parents to keep an eye on their surroundings and do their territorial duties.
This unfolds in front of you.
The bush, full of beauty, wonder, and absolute chaos. And now, all that madness has its own show. It's called a Wild Bush Week. The countdown of the most outrageous, heart-stopping, and sometimes downright ridiculous wildlife moments of the week. Lions throwing their weight around. Hyenas gate-crashing the buffet. Leopards doing, well, leopardy things. Each week, it's a fresh reel of safari gold, a mix of drama,
She's just got an impala, everybody.
danger, and a healthy dose of laughter. So, if you fancy a highlight show with bite, and I don't mean just the animals, tune in to a Wild Bush Week. You bring the tea, and we'll bring the tusks, tails, and teeth.
Starlight and moonlight into the eye to make them more efficient at night time may or may not be the case. I personally am a little bit unconvinced. For me, I think it is more of a communication method when eyes are so important to transferring of emotion, particularly amongst social species like lions. So I see it more like makeup, just drawing attention to the eyes, which can convey so much behavioral and mood-based information. Makes me think if the former was the case, then why are camera lenses and binoculars not painted white on the inside to help gather extra light, perhaps? as someone who does a lot of nighttime photography, if that was the case, I would expect to see white on the inside of the lens to help capture starlight, or at least for the ambient surrounding light. Everybody up and about, nobody really settling, coming down for drinks, checking in on mums, having a little bit of a groom. Surprisingly active for the middle of the day. That one there is a little bit smaller than the others. Very difficult to know who's the mother to which, but if we've got two different obvious sizes, then I think we can assume that the smaller ones belong to one and the larger ones belong to another, but of course they do allo-suckle in lions as well, so both females will suckle each other's cubs as need is required. Bill, you're asking whether baboons can contract tuberculosis. Bill, I'm not 100% sure. I think there have been cases reported in the past, but I don't think it's as prevalent as that we see in other animals like buffalo and lions. Often the lions contract TB because they're feeding on infected prey items that they're taking, whilst baboons do eat some meat. It is not a major part of their diet, and I'm not exactly sure of what other transferal methods there are of TB between different species. But as far as I know, it's predominantly done through feeding upon infected animal flesh, and therefore probably something unlikely to affect baboons as regularly as others. But I believe there have been cases of it recorded, but I don't think it's overly prevalent. But no sign of TB in these lions. Of course, we do see quite a few lions in the Kruger area with TB. It has been suggested that there's not a great deal that can be done about it, and whilst they may not look as beautiful as perhaps these lions do, they can look a little bit scrawny, TB-infected lions. It doesn't really seem to affect them in terms of longevity. And there's not much we can really do about it, unfortunately. It's one of those naturally occurring things. Oh, a little stretch and a clawing of the trees, removing some of those keratin coatings from the claws, keeping them in good condition. Little head nuzzles. All that space to lie down in, and I'm going to be determined to lie pretty much exactly where you are, brother or sister. That female at the back, she looks like a bit of a monster. It's like a larger head than this one in the front. Interesting to know whether that would be a mother and daughter or just different genetics. All right, I think we're going to check in elsewhere, but I'm sure we will be back. Check up on our Anguma lions. Oh, hello. We've got some, it looks like a carmine bee-eater on the left. And I think that was a white-fronted bee-eater on the right that flew away. So a couple of different bee-eater species. These carmines are absolutely stunning birds. They're bright red feathers that they have got. As the name suggests, carmine being another word for red, of course. Very, very warm. You can see with the beak open, just fanning air through the membrane of the tongue by flapping the tongue in the mouth. We call it gular flapping. Just you can actually see the throat oscillating, just forcing air across the tongue and using evaporative cooling to try and cool the blood in the body. Strange thing about carmines, though, I mean, you can go into certain reserves here close to Hoedspruit and see lots of carmine bee-eaters, then go to a reserve that is literally next door and not see any. They seem to be quite specific in areas that they inhabit when they do come back. They are intra-African migrants for us down here in southern Africa. All right, it seems that we have headed to, I think this is Jamala in Madikwe, if memory serves. So we have a little bit of a problem with the camera there. Ollie the Op, you are saying what a beautiful pride of lions, and that we've ticked off one of your boxes for today. Well, I'm very glad to hear it. Ollie the Op, you're asking if we can try and get the exact number of lions. I'm sure we will do. I think we've certainly established there's 2 females there and at least 5 youngsters. Difficult to know the exact breakdown of whether some are hiding behind the trees, but hopefully we will be able to get that information for you, Ollie. Interesting, that little oasis in the middle of the dam here. I'm not sure what tree that is that's growing in there, but it's obviously very, very happy. See how green it is in comparison to the rather desolate landscape everywhere else.
My name is Amy, and today we're going to be doing things a little bit differently.
Ellie's that we're approaching now.
The light on her as well is absolutely gorgeous.
So we are going to enjoy the rest of this sunset.
Wow, this is absolutely crazy.
And thank you for joining us. For myself and Cam, we will see you next time.
My name is Amy, and today we're going to be doing things a little bit differently.
Even a hyena coming into the action as well now. Oh my word! She's stalking the hyena now. Leopard, hyena, lion, all together in one shot. Oh! Woo! This is action-packed.
Best sighting I've presented. I found myself with wild dogs. We chased the dogs around, chased them around. They ate an impala. We got the end of that. Then another impala went into Gowrie Dam down the road there, and the wild dogs went around. Eventually the impala came close to the bank. One wild dog went and grabbed it and then just pulled it out and just did what wild dogs do. It was an emotional experience, but it was very, very special.
Oh, she's gonna catch it!
Come on, Tommy!
Watch this, we're about to see a kill.
You can see how close he is from where I am.
Can you hear that? The wild is calling.